Hey everyone, so we're April 24 here, and no signs of life yet for our two parsleys here and cherry tomato yet. Weird. I think this parsley I started about a month ago from the organic seeds I have. We're working on eating this lovely microgreen shrimp broccoli. My girlfriend wanted the microgreen, stems to get long again. She likes when they're long. You just have to be careful because now as you cut, as you eat, they fall over and water comes out of the stems when you cut. So that moisture, keep, if they start staying wet, lying on top of soil or cut stems, that's why it's, then it can start some mold. We haven't been getting a lot of light into our window here. It hasn't been very sunny, so the color, the green is a good color. It's just that the leaves are not as big and strong as I would have liked them to be. They've worked harder at getting tall, and that could also be an overseeding issue. So if you want to experiment with that, maybe try a little bit less seeds when you have less light, so that to see if the plants will focus a bit more on growing leaves, because leaves grow wide. But if there's no space because they feel plants all around them, and then they're just shooting up to compete to get taller and taller to eventually open up their leaves. It makes total sense. Here's some organic cookies my girlfriend made for her horse and our dogs. Haven't showed you my dogs yet, but nice cookies with it's carrot, coconut, or I think she used some coconut butter, carrot. What else was she using? Don't remember exactly. You notice the scallion? How big it's gotten. It's trying to curve out to the light there. And also this mint that I made. I'm going to be cutting the parent stems soon. It dove into this soil and sprouted back up pretty quick. Awesome. Gonna have a baby mint soon. Our squash are just booming, very healthy, strong. Might end up cutting one back soon because they're just growing so fast. And here are the ones we put in some light shade yesterday. A little bit more growth on some of them. What I've been doing is fighting the curve, continuously twisting the pots away from the light as they bend over, just because you want to try to keep the stems growing straight. And looks like one, I don't know what happened here, dried out, or I don't know, I can't think of anything else it could have been. Anyway, there's another one sprouting up. If that one dies, most likely it will. Doesn't look very good. And not much progress down here yet. I think we got a couple. That just happened today because I checked earlier this morning. It's about 3 p.m. 3:30, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Checked this morning, and it was just this one coming up. But now we have what is that? Organic Roma tomato. That's nice. I don't remember them being so thin. And the one in the back there is a beef. And I noticed yesterday the soil was still pretty wet, and there was still quite a bit of water at the bottom of the tray. So I don't know if I might have overwatered, or the soil is just holding its moisture well, and it's finally very hydrated. It took a few days to really hydrate complete. It's like complete 100% saturation. So I'm like, well, I don't want it to be oversaturated, so it has been uncovered since yesterday, and I sprayed a little bit on top just to make sure the seeds were wet, were watered at some point today, but very little. Well, really the majority of what's at the bottom of the tray there is still from 2 days ago. So I've left that completely uncovered to let it dry out a bit. But like I said, I did put a bit more water right at the surface for the seeds that are very close to the surface. You don't want them to dry out. You could dry out your bottom tray, your saucer a little bit, but not your seeds should stay moist. Finally, it's pretty decent weather out today, back in the double digits, feels like. You can see here well, one or more rabbits eating at these tulips. One of them might not make it, but I put some thorns around there and don't think they'll be getting touched again anytime soon. I'm going to add some coffee on this area here directly, just a very little. Okay, day 2 of our morning glory hanging baskets, and you don't want to forget to water. I'm using a wide spout tool here, container. Ideally, you want to break up the water as I normally do, but not always. Sometimes I do this, but you can see I'm going slow, carefully. Not really disturbing the soil. Wanted to show the rose bush here. Pretty sure it's a rose bush that is grown out of control. I'm excited for. I was gonna to prune. I wanted to prune it soon. I was looking forward to it, and then I looked up how to prune roses because I didn't look it up last summer. I just kind of pruned the ends a little, very little, thinking it would help, but I didn't get any roses last year, and I don't know if it's because it's kind of intertwined with this thorny. Is this a thorny one? Yeah, this thorny tree. Pretty strong, like roots and above the ground. So I'll trim that as well. Colder climates. Well, if you're pruning in the spring in a cold climate like we are here in southern Ontario, all of Ontario, I'm zone 5B. You want to do it after the last frost, or when they tell you it's time, via buds and leaves forming. So this is more than a bud already, so I'm going to be pruning this probably today, or I might do it in stages, because I'm not going to be putting the product, I'm not going to be spending money on the product to prevent disease. So I think if I do it slowly, it'll give if I do it over over like I don't know, the span of a week or something, there's no rush, I can give the plant time to kind of heal its own wounds. Otherwise it'll require a lot more energy to heal everything at once, and it might not be able to do so after in time before some pests can get themselves in. So I'm looking at the bottom here, and I noticed Ontario grown garden rose, $20. Plant in full sun. Wow. I'm surprised that ink lasted on there, because this thing looks already at least, I don't know, 5 years old. You know, even a couple years. You know, a lot of ink like is gone. Anyway, so I'm not exactly sure how short I'm going to cut. It's not really needed for privacy, but yeah, I'll do that later. I want to show what else I've been working on today. I watered my compost to make sure it stays wet. So this bed here is behind my garage, and it's basically south and half of a southern exposure. South is that way. So at about 1-2 in the afternoon, it starts getting sun. About 2 o'clock, all the way until sun's down, until even 6, something like that. So it's not that much, but I use it anyway. I don't really have a choice. I can't be chopping down other people's trees or anything. So tulips coming around. I haven't seen the rabbit around. Luckily, it's sparing me some tulips. I've been reading in some forums a lot of people losing their tulips this spring to rabbits. So grateful for that. I had some eaten. Those ones in the front, pretty much eaten. I pruned that grass to see if it's gonna come back. It's okay if it doesn't. And I transplanted the salads here along the back fence for the rabbits. Keep them away from my garden beds. So I'm digging. I'm turning through. I took the brush off this bed, digging through much like I did to the other ones already in the last couple days, and I'm finding actually a lot more clay in here than I thought I had. Look at this big ball. It's like so firmly stuck together as one big chunk. It's incredible. So this is, I guess, one good reason why turning your soil, like my I know my mom's parents did that all their lives. So I don't know about my dad's side. My dad's parents, really, I should ask, and I'll get back to you on that. But that's a benefit of turning your soil, getting in there and seeing what exactly is going on, at least as far as the depth of your, as deep as the depth of your shovel, the length of your shovel. You know, I was thinking also, like, if there's more organic matter on the top of the soil and you turn it, that goes down to the bottom and the clay comes up, where it can be dried up, broken down. Bugs, it's the bugs' first contact to get in, break it up, aerate it, let the water get in there more, and then obviously leaves and additives, anything that you're adding, compost will fertilize, replenish, will actually modify the clay, or little bits of clay, whatever percentage of clay that's in your soil, right before the soil at the top that's already replenished. And so I don't know, I guess if if people have done that for already a long period of time, and when they turn every year and they start seeing that, okay, now my soil is pretty loose, it's pretty fertile, then it's not maybe not as necessary anymore. But with something like this, like these big chunks of clay, I don't see why it would be a bad idea to be bringing it up to the top, chopping it up, amending it, or even composting it. I've put some on my grass, like I said, so I don't have to worry about it being in my garden cycle. But I'm also putting some in compost to mix direct with organics and other additives, ash, coffee grind, and stuff that I'm adding. So I wanted to show that. Pulling weeds, obviously, as I pull these chunks out, it breaks up, and like I showed last time already, breaks up and allows you to pull out the whole weed. Look at this, how hard it is. Oh, not hard, like how strong it stays together. It's good because it always also gives me an idea of how much composting I need to do, like, as soon as possible. It's too bad I don't already have a lot of like brush, like I said, leaves and stuff to start you know, to start another compost pile from the one that's almost ready to go. But I'm keeping my eye on my neighbor's curbs. I'm not exactly sure. I don't put yard waste to the curb. Haven't done that since we moved in here 2 years ago. So actually maybe a little bit, but I don't keep I don't wait for, I don't look into what's the date. So I just go with what my neighbors or with people and other people on the street are doing. Yes, I'm one of those. Guys, so I'm still working on this bed here. Started another fire, but I'm removing so much clay. I'm so surprised. Like, chunks that I'm pulling, that's my foot, like chunks that I'm pulling when I lift my shovel are bigger than that, and then they break as I bring them onto the grass, you know. And especially the beige stuff like that, that's like pure clay. I'm so surprised because last summer and the year before, I like I said, with my pipe digging shovel, the long thin one, it's about 12 inches, pulling the roots. I'm pulling as much weeds as I can too as I go along, and even some roots that I left in there from last year's crops, just to let the I think it's potassium get back into the soil, stay in the soil. But I mean, the last 2 years I've been turning the soil and amending it, adding compost, leaves, brush, organic matter to attract bugs, to decompose, and, you know, condition the soil. I've added what's it called, ash for pH neutralizing, and I think also helps with some other components. Can't remember right now, right? But it's just wow. I originally didn't really want to turn everything over, but with this kind of condition, I think it's the best thing to do. Kind of mix up the soil, break up these pieces, remove some big chunks completely, amend them, and then return them back as composted soil. Let me know what you think about that. Look at this. Put my shovel in, and you think I would think, see the ashes there? Oh no, those are leaves. And I just learned actually that my leaves with the black rot there, the black, that's from mushrooms. Mushroom spores. It's not good to use as compost. So that's not really good. You see all these guys? Comes from this maple here. My nose is running. It's a healthy tree, but I've noticed ever since we moved in, all its leaves get these black things on them. So I'm going to be working to burn that now, or it's not right to burn, but get rid of it in compost, because I think the city during yard collection season, if you put it as yard collection, they have a way of treating it properly. That's what I was reading. So I will have to replace all these leaves that I've been using to cover my beds with hopefully some healthy leaves from neighbors putting their leaves out to the curb. So yeah, coming back to my shoveling here. I mean, I'm putting the shovel all the way in and prying up, and I know there's some roots, but like the soil is not breaking down, and I know it's not completely dry, but it's also not really wet. Not really wet, so I don't get it. What is this? Wood chip. Weird. See that? Like these clumps. If they were, I don't know, I'm thinking more dry, a little bit. They're not that wet. Like a little bit more dry, would they fall apart? If I do that, I doubt it. You know. And the idea is that they're buried in the ground, and that they're always going to have some moisture for healthy, healthy crop. So at that moisture rate, that retention rate, like, is that what I want in my garden? Not really. So removing that grass, sort it out. I'm gonna have to look into whether or not it's safe to compost these weeds. And these are the size worms you want in your garden. There's a good sign right there. Hopefully I didn't kill it. Thanks, bud. Or girl. Helping out my garden. One thing I wanted to mention, I keep forgetting. I'm really glad that at least I haven't found any grubs. I found one little thing that looked like a grub. It had like black ends and like a whitish body. It was really small. That was the only thing I've seen so far. And I've been pretty much, this is my last bed. I've dug through everything. I haven't had one in the past. I'm just grateful for not having to deal with that issue. So I am finding in this bed, I am finding ash that I've mixed in here. I just don't think it was enough. Like, there is a lot of clay. This is not a beige clay like I've been finding, but I know it's mostly clay, because if I do this, with this at this level of saturation, like it's dry. You can see it hasn't rained much, and even my rain collection bin is right here and hasn't really filled up at all in the last couple days. So I know it's been at least a couple days. I know it hasn't been hot or really sunny, but this is definitely more clay than anything else. So I kind of do that test. You know, I'll throw it with my shovel up the hill, pile it up. If it doesn't break, add it to my pile to be conditioned, or I'll just with my both hands kind of like juggle it a little, wiggle it around in my hands if I see some parts breaking off that are less adhesive to the pile. I'll break that part off. Whatever wants to volunteer itself off could stay in the. So that's kind of like the rule of thumb I'm going by. Let me know what you think. So yeah, I think I just need more organics and more ash in here. So leaves or compost with all of the above. But it's going to be a while to make enough compost for all my beds. So I'll probably add some of that ash from today right away to this bed. And then, like I said, I got to keep my eye out for leaves and start some new compost pile. Let me see if I can get another shovel load here on camera. I think I did this section already. Some areas you can't even go all the way in because there's roots or rocks, I don't know. But if I turn that directly over, you can get an idea of what I'm seeing still at the bottom. See, it's still more beige than the rest of the soil in the bed. So that's definitely going to the conditioner pile. I think the majority of the soil in there was decent, was enough to leave in there. Chunks of clay that I removed. So here I wanted to show this as an example. I put my shovel in and turned over. See, this is the bottom, this is the edge of the shovel right here, and I just basically pried it and pulled it out, and you see it's at least some of that level is like that. It's clay. And I'm really surprised because I thought I went that deep, but maybe I just broke it up. I mean, I turned everything, so I saw a lot of clay came to the top, and then I chopped it all. So I figured what was at the top went to the bottom, but maybe not everywhere, because I didn't get this everywhere. It's just some spots. So that might be what happened. You know, especially with the thin shovel that I used. It's a thin shovel. Look at that big stick still stuck in there. The big shovel, a long one, is narrow, so I mean, just the nose will get a lot of the stuff that's deep in there, but it won't take out. It's not as wide as a flat shovel. So maybe that's a benefit of using a flat shovel. So not as much of the clay breaks and stays down there as you're trying to bring it out. So cool. At least I'm glad I checked it, looked into it, and I'm able to prevent one further issue, avoid one further barrier here to a good harvest this year. It's still a bit early to do this kind of amendment. I was looking into the weeping willow sticks, and I learned that usually you got a bigger one. You get like a huge branch off the tree, like 10 foot long or something, and then you dig 3/4 of it in the ground, and you use they recommend a fertilizer with equal amounts of 10-10-10 or 20-20-20, and you keep it moist, keep it wet, like watering it, so it can develop its roots, I guess, before it like just dries out. And there might have been a couple of other steps, but gonna try it in there and see what happens. I think it's better that it's not a full shade, full sun area. Might already be strong by spring anyway, but we'll see what happens with that. It's good experimenting. Okay, so I'm on this bed again. I'm taking the top brush off, and then I'm going to check the soil a bit more thorough now, because the other bed got me a bit worried that there's still a bit too much clay in these beds. So my mint is over there. Looks like it's starting to bloom or bud. And then I got some weeds here, and I'll work my way down, breaking up and turning the soil and checking out exactly how much clay, what's its composition is like. What is this? Weeds. What is this? So, breaks up. I didn't go too deep. It's breaking up pretty easily, but still not as easy as it should. Just keep wiggling it around, breaking it up easily so you can get all the roots out and rocks, and say hi to all the worms. And then a little bit deeper, turn it up and check it out. Not bad. A little bit of clay, break it up, integrate it. I'll be putting some compost on top soon, hopefully. And keep going. Weeds, grass, weeds and grass. Fabric from tying my tomatoes last year. Missed that. Don't want to keep that in there. Missed it last fall, I guess. Wow. Lots of worms. And ash. And just keep going. All right, that was a good workout. One back later, one spine later, broken spine later. Didn't pull out much clay from this one. Thank God it was in better condition. Otherwise I would have had a lot of unsuspected work to do. Some roots, lots of worms, no grub still, weeds. It's a good idea to use a bin like that. It's not worth adding any weeds to the grass. And look what I found in the meantime. I planted leftover onion, what are they called? Scallions last summer. They were not in good condition throughout the summer, but I didn't give up on them. And there's a couple that I showed before, and the other bed that came up, and this one too. So you see, there's another advantage with not turning your soil, not cleaning your beds too early in the spring. It looks a lot like a ramp, actually. That would be awesome. One ramp. Don't take any leaves, it'll die. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be so awesome. Anyway, okay, I'm going to try pruning this baby. Got some tomato sticks right next to it there on the right. And I can tell it was pruned pretty recently. Right here, there's a couple. And here, it was pruned at about, I don't know what that is, about 5 feet. So it wasn't pruned properly, by the way. They cut straight facing the sky, which is not good for drainage of water. To angle the water off the plant, off the stub. I also got some branches going into my neighbor's yard, which I'm going to cut, and a bit of the adjacent tree on the left. Ideally, you want to trim all the branches that are touching each other, because they can attract disease with cuts with weak skin from the wind and thorns kind of tearing open both like the branches tearing each other. You want to cut branches in the middle. You want to do like a vase, like narrow at the bottom and then widening at the toward the top. So stems in the middle you could cut out. There's a lot of info online for this, but stems that are horizontal you could cut, which they've been doing. So we're going to leave the vertical ones. I'm just angling the tips so that they're not flat, and I'll leave the some horizontal stems. Some new stems will grow as well. Wow, this thing is growing out of control. Okay, good. Lots of pest deterrent. Hopefully lots of roses this summer too. coming along nicely. It's incredible. Plants over here just thrive. Seems like all life thrives in this area. It's amazing. We have a turtle pond pretty close by too. I'd like to show some turtles once they start coming out of the pond. Alright, our shape is coming along. It's a bit tough to see with so many stems, but I'm thinking about that height. It's about 5'10", it's about my height. I think it would be good. I'm keeping a bit more on in this gap here to fill in the privacy with my neighbor. And I said I wasn't going to prune it all in one day, but changed my mind. Hopefully it won't be too bad. It seems pretty strong, like I said, very healthy, so hopefully it'll be able to heal its wounds pretty well. So I'm going to probably figure something out with these two that are rubbing. See what's happening here is some like scabbing. So they're saying. So what I was reading is not good for, I don't know if it's some rot, but also some bug that likes to eat rose. Oh yeah, big trimming, big pruning. You don't want to pull too much. I don't think it's good to pull trimmed stems out through your bush, because the thorns will just slice the stems open, and it would only seem logical to me. So I'm trying to avoid it as I pull stems out. All right. Oh, I know the left side is a bit higher than the right, but I'm not going to be too picky. I'll be happy if we could even get some roses from here, because I'm not going to be spending money on fertilizer. Also, I hope we can not get pests. I'm not going to be getting the product for the stubs. So this one here, I untangled this. I don't know if the original planter intertwined them on purpose, but I have them rubbing at the bottom there. I think that's not as bad as the green part. That would only make sense. Like thick bark at the bottom would be strong for those little needles. I know they're pointy, but I think they're not pointy enough to really do much damage down there versus up at the top. So I might eventually just get a string tie, put a spacer down at the bottom in between those two, just to keep them from scraping each other. And that's pretty much it. We have our vertical stems, our horizontal stem. The horizontal ones are more here in the middle range here. Looks like, I don't know, maybe this was my trimming last year and I didn't know what I was doing, which I didn't. I didn't look it up last year, but these are horizontal. The top ones, these ones closer to the top. So I think it's fine as long as they're staying true to the outward, like vase kind of shape. Maybe I'll look into that later, but to do a little bit more trimming on this one here. I don't know. It's touching. We can make them not touch there. And I might also get rid of this branch back there that's touching the thick one here. It's not necessary. I got too many vertical branches there. And that's it. We'll see how it does. Those buds are already coming in strong. It's not even May. It's not even May. Hopefully this stuff doesn't die by like some late spring, like hard frost or something. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Good boy. Get it. Get it. Get it. Alright, so here is my packing it in for the night. What it looks like before I'm going in. Got my ashes, not too many today, but it's a start. I'll have to make some more to add to the soil. And freshly cut rose stems, branches on the beds. I saw already a robin as I went inside for a 10-minute break. And that's basically it for the day. Outside anyway. Thanks for watching another episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something or have something that you thought you could share with my viewers and myself, or that you maybe even thought of some new questions, some new things that you can research now, and maybe even consider sharing your findings with us. Episode 5 will be out soon. The last few days of April have been really busy. I've been planting veggies in my beds, which I finished getting ready for the growing season. And I created the small greenhouse structure for my main patio bed, and planted plants in that bed. I did a live yesterday, April 29th, showing my planting some flower seeds in some containers in my garage.
and that live stream is also archived in my channel if you want to check it out. I'm also going to be showing my mushroom logs, which I keep on my north side of the house, which is a bit shady. No pun intended there. Um, my mushroom cloning and log inoculating has been a very fun journey, and I'm really excited to see if my mushroom logs are going to flush out some delicious mushrooms for the first time this spring. So I hope you'll join me for this exciting next episode. I'm gonna be soaking my logs to get them ready to get them hydrated for a flush for the next for the warm weather we're supposed to be getting this weekend. So I hope you'll join me.
Thanks again. Please check out my other videos and consider liking and subscribing. And I always appreciate when you share my videos as well. Thanks so much and see you soon.